Good morning, children. My topic for today's session is theory of attributes. So, before explaining what is this theory of attributes and all that, let me tell you what is an attribute. This word most of us have already heard about this. Attribute is nothing but quality of a character or a quality of a characteristics or a quality. In simple language, attribute is nothing but a character or a quality. So, how this attributes are studied in statistics? How do we study attributes in statistics? That we'll deal in this session. So till now, whatever calculations or analysis we have done with data which is quantitative. So generally, statistics means uh, analysis of a data quantitatively. So generally, stats deals with quantitative data only. But if we have a qualitative data, then how to measure that? So in such cases, we'll be using this theory of attributes. So in behavioral sciences, one often deals with the variables which cannot be measured quantitatively. So the qualities which we cannot measure, qualities like what? Honesty or intelligence or the habits, all these are the different qualities which we cannot measure, but we can see whether that particular quality is present in that person or not. Yes, so attribute refers to the quality of a characteristics, and the theory of attributes deals with qualitative types of characteristics which cannot be measured quantitatively. So the main aim of theory of attributes is it deals with the qualitative data which we cannot measure quantitatively. Like for example, as I have told you, honesty, beauty, habits, blindness, etc. All this we cannot measure quantitatively, but we can measure only by their presence or absence. So if so many persons are having this quality, means then we are measuring by number of persons who are having that quality. So here to study this theory of attributes, we have different notations and terminologies. So we'll see what are the different notations and terminologies you have here. So as I said, theory of attributes is studied by the presence or absence of an attribute. So suppose I want to study the smoking habit of persons in a population. So here my interest of study is to study the smoking habit or how many number of smokers in a population. So what I'll do, based on my interest of study, that population will be divided into two parts. One part will contain smokers, another part will contain non-smokers. That means the population is divided into two parts based on my study. So my interest of study is to study smokers. So for me, that will be a positive class. So the part of the population which contains the attribute of my interest or the attribute under study, that is known as positive class. And the class which contains absence of the attribute which I am studying, that is known as negative class. In simple language, if I want to study, I told you if I want to study number of smokers in a population, so the number of smokers in the population is called as the part of population which contains smokers is known as positive class. The part of population which contains non-smokers is called as negative class. So the population in the theory of attributes is divided into two classes. One is positive class, another one is negative class. Now what is this positive class? The positive class denotes the presence of the attribute under study, and the negative class denotes the absence of the attribute under study. Positive classes are denoted by Roman letters A, B, C, etc. And the negative classes are denoted by Greek letters alpha, beta, gamma, etc. So here in your syllabus, you have only up to 3 attributes, maximum 3 attributes. So I'm taking only A, B, C. I'm restricting the session only to 3 attributes, A, B, C, and their counterparts alpha, beta, and gamma. Or the negative attributes alpha, beta, and gamma. Here, for example, if A represents the attribute literacy, so opposite of literacy is illiteracy. So alpha will be illiteracy. Similarly, if B denotes the attribute criminal, then its opposite will is not criminal. So beta denotes not criminal. So in this example, A represents attribute literacy, alpha denotes attribute illiteracy, B represents attribute criminal, beta represents the attribute not criminal. Now suppose you will be having cases where person is a literate person and he is not a criminal. So that is combination of these two qualities. So he is a literate and he is not a criminal. So literate is A, not criminal is beta. So A beta. So I can write combinations of attributes also. So these combinations of attributes are denoted by grouping together the letters concerned. Example, like here also I have given one example, AB. It is a combination of the attribute A and attribute B. Similarly, alpha B is the combination of the attributes alpha and B. So if a population is divided into two classes according to its presence and absence, in the previously I have told you one example. If my interest of study is to study the number of smokers in a population, it means that population is divided into two parts. One part is smokers, another part is non-smokers. So division of population into two parts, that is known as dichotomous classification. So if a population is divided into two classes according to the presence and absence of an attribute, then such a classification is called as dichotomous classification. So if a population is divided into more than two classes, then such a classification is called manifold classification. So here I have told you the population is divided into two classes or more than two classes. Then what do you mean by actually this class? What is this class? So here class is what, see, I said if it possesses, the population is divided into two classes. One class is smokers, another class is non-smokers. Smokers is A, non-smokers is alpha. So the attribute A is called one class, attribute alpha is called another class. So different attributes in themselves are called as classes. And what is class frequencies? So if out of 100 population, if say 40 are smokers, so that 40 is known as class frequency of attribute smoker. So number of observations assigned to that class are called class frequencies, or the number of observation possessing the attribute is known as class frequencies. So generally these class frequencies are denoted within brackets of the class symbols. So if I write A within brackets, then it denotes the number of observations possessing the attribute A, and we call it as frequency of A. If I write B within brackets, it means number of observations possessing the attribute B, and or frequency of B. Similarly, AB within brackets, here I have given AB within brackets, it means number of observations possessing the attribute A and B, or it is called as frequency of AB. So whenever you have class frequencies of capital Roman letters, then they are known as positive frequencies. If you have class frequencies of Greek letters, then they are known as negative frequencies. Now how to find order of a class and class frequency? So the number of attributes in a class is the order of that class. So suppose if I am studying only one attribute, I am studying say smokers. So this is an attribute of order 1, class of order 1. If you have two attributes, then that is known as class of order 2. If you have smokers and literates, then it means you have two attributes. So it is an attribute of order 2. So if you have only single letters in simple language, here it is given if a certain class can give us information about only one attribute, it is called as a class of order 1. So A, alpha, B, beta, all these are classes of order 1. If I have combination of these attributes, say AB, alpha B, A beta, alpha beta, then these are called as classes of order 2 because I have two combinations and the frequencies as frequencies of order 2. If I have combination of 3 attributes, then the classes like ABC, AB gamma, A beta, C alpha, beta gamma. So all these are called classes of order 3 and their frequencies is frequencies of order 3. And the total number of members n of the population which does not contain any attributes is called the frequency of order 0. So if I am taking two attributes A and B, that A and B attribute can be represented in a 2 by 2 contingency table. This is called as a 2 by 2 contingency table. So here I have two attributes A and B. Their negative parts are alpha and this is beta. And this AB within parentheses or within brackets denotes number of observations possessing both the attributes AB. Here this denotes number of observations possessing both the attributes alpha and B. Here it denotes number of observations possessing the attributes A and beta, and this denotes number of observations possessing the attributes alpha and beta. And this column wise total, this number capital A within brackets denotes number of observations possessing the attribute A. Alpha within brackets denotes number of observations possessing the attribute alpha. Similarly, B within brackets denotes number of observations possessing the attribute B. And beta within brackets denotes number of observations possessing the attribute beta. And this is capital N, which is total number of observations in the population. So this N can be, N is nothing but A plus alpha or B plus beta or AB plus A beta plus alpha B plus alpha beta. So anything will give you capital N. And capital A is nothing but AB plus A beta. Alpha is alpha B plus alpha beta. Similarly, B is AB plus alpha B. And beta is A beta and alpha beta. A beta plus alpha beta. Now how to find relation between class frequencies. So here I have given a relation between two attributes. How to find relation? Here also you can do it. A is equals to AB plus A beta. Alpha equal to alpha B plus alpha beta. So this is nothing but relation between the attributes. So here relation between class frequencies. It means what? Any class frequency of any order is expressed in terms of the other class frequencies of higher order. So no class frequency is independent. They are dependent on class frequencies of higher order. So all the class frequencies of various orders are not independent of each other, and any class frequency can always be expressed in terms of class frequencies of higher order. So here already I have explained you in the previous 2 by 2 contingency table. N equal to A plus alpha, or it may be B plus beta, or it may be C plus gamma. Now since each of these A's or alphas can either be B's or betas, so we have capital A is equals to AB plus A beta and alpha equal to alpha B plus alpha beta. So how to remember this? Just with this A, combine the other attribute B plus then it's negative A beta. Similarly alpha B plus alpha beta. So here B also, B I can write it as, here missing is A. So I can write it as AB plus negative of A is alpha. So alpha B. Similarly beta, this here missing is A. So I'll combine this with A first plus then negative of A is alpha. So alpha beta. So beta is A beta plus alpha beta. Similarly, you have second order attribute AB. Second order class AB. Now this AB missing letter is 3. So I'll combine with this missing letter is C. So I will combine this with C. So I'll combine with C, ABC plus again combine this with negative of C is gamma. So AB gamma. Similarly A beta. So A beta I'll combine missing is C. So I'll combine it with A beta C plus A beta gamma. So like that you can write different combinations. So here I've written for alpha B, then alpha beta. Like this you can write different combinations. Or beta C, beta gamma. And similarly now I see here now A is AB plus A beta. That I have written AB plus A beta. Again AB we got in terms of third order. What is AB? ABC plus AB gamma. So in this place of AB I'll write ABC plus AB gamma. Similarly, plus A beta, I got A beta C plus A beta gamma. Similarly, beta also you can write in the same way. So the classes of highest order are called as the ultimate classes, and their frequency is the ultimate class frequency. So if we have n attributes, then the ultimate class frequency will be of nth order. If I have 2 attributes, then the ultimate class frequency will be of order 2. If I have 3 attributes, the ultimate class frequency will be of order 3. So for 3 attributes, these are all the ultimate class frequencies. That is highest order combinations. Now what is this class symbols as operators? So how we are getting those relations? Okay. So the operation of dichotomizing n according to A gives the class frequency equal to A. What does it mean? It means what? The operation of dichotomizing n according to A means we are dividing the population of size n according to the attribute A. So I am dividing a population of size n into different parts based on the attribute A. So when I am dichotomizing this n total population according to A, it will give you the number of persons possessing that attribute A, that is class frequency of A. So symbolically how we can write it? A dot n. That means I am dichotomizing this population n according to this attribute A. So this is nothing but A dot n is nothing but it gives you number of observations possessing the attribute A. That is A within brackets. Similarly, alpha dot n will give you alpha. Now add these two. If I add these two, what I'll get? A dot n plus alpha dot n is equals to A plus alpha. In these two, in the lecture side, I have n common, so I'll take it out. So A plus alpha dot n is equals to A plus alpha. Or A plus alpha dot n is equals to, in 2 by 2 contingency table or in relations, we have seen A plus alpha is equal to capital N. Now this n will get cancelled, we'll get A plus alpha equal to 1. So here in symbolic expression, we can replace A by 1 minus alpha and alpha by 1 minus A. Similarly, B can be replaced by 1 minus beta and beta by 1 minus B. Like this, you can dichotomize different attributes. So here I'm in the previous slide I have shown you dichotomizing n according to A, total population according to A. Suppose now here we'll see how to dichotomize this B, total number of observations possessing the attribute B, according to the attribute A. That means what? A dot frequency B. So this is nothing but AB. Similarly, B dot frequency A will give you AB. So A dot B is equals to B dot A is equals to AB. Both gives the same answer, AB. So AB I can write it as AB dot N, which means what? Dichotomizing this total population N according to the attributes AB. So similarly, alpha beta I can write it as alpha beta dot N. Again, alpha I can write it as 1 minus A, beta I can write as 1 minus B dot N. Then simplifying this, whatever you have in brackets, you'll get 1 minus A minus B plus AB dot N. So that is equal to, simplifying this, opening the brackets, this one, multiplying each term with N, you'll get N minus A dot N minus B dot N plus AB dot N. So again, this is equal to what? N minus A dot N is nothing but capital A within brackets. Similarly, B dot N is capital B plus AB dot N is AB. So here I can write this as what? These two minus is common and taking out N minus A plus B plus AB. Okay. So we have seen for first order, this is for second order. Similarly, we'll see one example for third order, alpha, beta, gamma, how to dichotomize it. So alpha, beta, gamma dot n, that means dichotomizing n according to alpha, beta, gamma. So here alpha is 1 minus A, beta is 1 minus B, gamma is 1 minus C dot n. So simplifying this, you'll get n minus A dot n minus B dot n minus C dot n plus AB dot n plus BC dot n plus AC dot n minus ABC dot n. So wherever you have A dot n, you can write in place of that as that attribute within parentheses. So frequency. So you'll get n minus of A plus B plus C plus AB plus BC plus AC minus ABC. Like this, you can use class symbols as operators for different combination of attributes. Next, we'll see consistency of data, how to check in attributes whether the given data is a consistent data or not. So the main condition for consistency is this: none of the class frequencies should be negative. So consistency of a set of class frequencies defined as the property that none of the class frequency is negative. So in order to test the consistency of data, you have to find the ultimate class frequencies. Whenever a problem is given to you and is asking you to find whether the data is consistent or not, so you should first find the ultimate class frequencies. That means highest order class frequencies. Now, if any one of the ultimate class frequencies is negative, then the data is inconsistent. So why like that? Because in relations we have seen all the class frequencies, any class frequency is expressed in terms of highest order only. So if it is two order class frequencies, then single order is expressed in terms of second order highest class frequencies. If it is third order, then the lower order class frequencies are expressed in terms of this highest order class frequencies. So if any one of the highest order class frequencies is negative, then the others will also be negative. So that's why for a data to be consistent, the ultimate class frequencies should not be negative. So you have a necessary and sufficient condition. The necessary and sufficient condition for the consistency of a set of independent class frequencies is that no ultimate class frequency is negative. This is one of the most important condition for consistency of a data. So you have different conditions for consistency of data. First condition is for only one attribute. For one attribute, the ultimate class frequency is single attribute only. So A should be positive greater than or equal to 0, alpha greater than or equal to 0. Second condition for two attributes. So you have second order. So for second order, your highest ultimate class frequency will be second order only. So all the second order attributes should be positive. That is AB greater than or equal to 0, A beta greater than or equal to 0, alpha B greater than or equal to 0, alpha beta greater than or equal to 0. Similarly, the third condition is if you have three attributes A, B and C, then all the ultimate class frequencies should be positive. That is ABC greater than or equal to 0, AB gamma greater than or equal to 0, A beta C greater than or equal to 0, alpha BC greater than or equal to 0, A beta gamma greater than or equal to 0, alpha B gamma greater than or equal to 0, alpha beta C greater than or equal to 0, alpha beta gamma greater than or equal to 0. So once you have found consistency of data, next you have independence of attributes. So none of the, what do you mean by independence of attributes? Independence of attributes means what? The presence or absence of an attribute does not affect the presence of or absence of the other attribute. Then the two attributes are said to be independent. So the attributes are said to be independent if presence or absence of one attribute does not affect the presence or absence of other attribute. Or the attributes A and B are said to be independent if there exists no relationship of any kind between them. So how to find whether the attributes are independent or not? So if you have to, if you consider two attributes A and B as independent attributes, then the proportion of A's among B's should be same as that among betas, and the proportion of B's among A's should be same as that among alphas. So the criterion for independence of attributes, in the previous slide I have told you that for two attributes to be independent, the proportion of A's among B's should be equal to proportion of A's among betas. That is what here it is given. Proportion of A among B's is same as proportion of A among betas. Similarly, proportion of B among A's is same as proportion of B's among alphas. One more condition is there. Proportion of AB among N is same as product of proportion of A and B among N. That is AB by N is equals to A by N into B by N. That is, if the attributes A and B are independent, the proportion of ABs in the population of size n is equal to the product of the proportion of A's and B's individually in the population. So these are the three criteria for independence of attributes. Next, association of attributes. So when we association means what? There is some relationship between the attributes. So the attributes A and B are said to be associated if they are not independent, but they are related in some way or the other. So now this association can be positive or negative association. When do you say the attributes A and B are positively associated, and when do you say the attributes are negatively associated, or when do you say there is no association? For that you have condition. So A and B are said to be positively associated if AB is greater than A into B by N, and negatively associated if AB is less than A into B by N. And here you can also denote it as delta. What is this delta? Delta is AB minus A into B by N. So if delta is greater than 0, the attributes are said to be positively associated. If delta is less than 0, the attributes are said to be negatively associated. If delta is equals to 0, or if AB is equals to A into B by N, then the attributes are said to be independent or dissociated. So here just in this, we have seen only whether they are positively associated or negatively associated. To find the degree of association, how they are associated, what is the degree of association, for that you have coefficients. First coefficient is Yule's coefficient of association. So Yule's coefficient of association is used to measure the degree or intensity of association between two attributes A and B. And this Yule's coefficient of association is denoted by Q, which is defined as Q is equals to AB into alpha beta minus A beta into alpha B by same thing but with plus sign. AB into alpha beta plus A beta into alpha B. Now when you calculate this, if you get Q equal to 0, then A and B are said to be independent. If you get Q is equals to plus 1, then the attributes are said to be completely associated. If you get Q is equals to minus 1, then the attributes are said to be completely dissociated. So the limits for Q is plus 1 and minus 1. That is, Q always lies between minus 1 and plus 1. The second coefficient is coefficient of colligation. So this is also used to measure the degree or intensity of association between the attributes A and B. If this coefficient of colligation is denoted by Y, which is equal to 1 minus root of A beta into alpha B by AB into alpha beta by 1 plus root of A beta into alpha B by AB into alpha beta. So here also if Y equal to 0, then A and B are said to be independent. If Y equal to plus 1, then the attributes A and B are said to be completely associated. If Y equal to minus 1, then the attributes A and B are said to be completely dissociated. So here limits for Y is also plus 1 and minus 1. That is, Y lies between minus 1 and plus 1. We'll see what is the relation between these two coefficients. This is the relationship between Q and Y. Now we have the coefficient of colligation Y is equals to 1 minus root of A beta alpha B by AB alpha beta by 1 plus root of A beta alpha B by AB alpha beta. So if I am taking this, whatever terms you have under square root as K, as a constant K, that is AB alpha beta by A beta alpha B by AB alpha beta is equal to as K, and substitute here, I'll get Y is equals to 1 minus root K by 1 plus root K. Now square both the sides. So you'll get Y square equal to 1 minus root K whole square by 1 plus root K whole square. Now expanding numerator and denominator using A minus B whole square and A plus B whole square formula. So Y square is equal to 1 plus K minus 2 root K by 1 plus K plus 2 root K. Now add both the sides 1. So I'll get 1 plus Y square equal to 1 plus K minus 2 root K by 1 plus K plus 2 root K. So simplifying this RHS side, 1 plus y square equal to 1 plus k plus 2 root k plus 1 plus k minus 2 root k by 1 plus k plus 2 root k. So here minus 2 root k plus 2 root k will get cancelled. 1 plus 1 will be 2. K plus k will be 2k. So 1 plus y square is equals to 2 plus 2k by 1 plus k plus 2 root k. Now here I have 2 common in the numerator. So I am taking 2 into 1 plus k. And this again I can write it as 1 plus root k whole square. So now I got 1 plus y square as 2 into 1 plus k by 1 plus root k whole square. Now find 2y by 1 plus y square. So 2 into what is y? 1 minus root k by 1 plus root k by 1 plus y square. How much did we get? 2 into 1 plus k by 1 plus root k whole square. So simplifying this, 2 into 1 minus root k by 1 plus root k into this, I am taking it to this side, it will become 1 plus root k whole square by 2 into 1 plus k. This 2 will get cancelled. This 1 plus root k and this 1 plus root k will get cancelled. So what is left here? 1 minus root k into 1 plus root k by 1 plus k. So this is a minus b into a plus b. A square minus b square. So 1 square minus root k whole square is nothing but k. So I got 1 minus k by 1 plus k. So 2y by 1 plus y square equal to 1 minus k by 1 plus k. So what is k here? Substitute now k. So 1 minus k is a beta alpha b by ab alpha beta by 1 plus a beta alpha b by ab alpha beta. Now simplifying numerator and simplifying denominator, these two will get cancelled. We will get 2y by 1 plus y square equal to ab alpha beta minus a beta alpha b by ab alpha beta plus a beta alpha b, which is nothing but Joule's coefficient of association q. So 2y by 1 plus y square is equals to q, or q is equals to 2y by 1 plus y square. So this is the relationship between q and y.